Okay, so now for Thursday night, not a big surprise, we continue and finish up the Bootstrap course. On the second one, as like before, I give you the instruction file, which I think I got to make sure I gave you. Yeah, the URL is right, but the text is wrong, so I'll fix that. And like before, right? I know it can be tempting, and it can be really even more tempting on this one, especially as he gets into the accordion, because he kind of goes back and forth about the accordion. And what I mean by that, he looks at the sample or the output text on the documentation site, and then he decides not to use it, but he ends up modifying it. So just know that even as I went through that, it got a little frustrating. But make sure you do not, because I'm telling you, it's going to be pretty easy for me to figure out when you've done that. So just don't do it, because part of this is just learning, right? Okay, so also on this one where he does the grid cards, make sure that you can use um, images different than, and I want you to use images differently, and he'll give you the URL for the random.me, and you can, like, as an example, random me, like here, you can just go in and, like, you could choose a different number, right? So choose different ones, like, just choose different ones for your URL. It's another way I can kind of help you customize it for yourselves. And anyway, that I hopefully by the end of this you have a good at least understanding of beginning understanding of Bootstrap. Okay, that is the idea here. Next week we'll do templates, to where you choose a template. I'll talk about that later. Okay, so on the one thing, as I was watching Brad Travesey do that, he was removing, and you saw this too, the ARIA attributes, which is not necessarily bad because it cut down on the code, because there's a lot of code that you wrote during these 2 days. But this is really one we don't want to jump over. So I want you to watch this. I think this is probably a little dated, but it's still really good. Let's see how one is, because I looked around and I didn't find um 5 years ago. Yeah, it's a little older than I like to use, but I haven't found anything better. If you have something about accessibility, that's better. So here's what I want you to do: is watch this video, and then, right, and learn about something. And you've seen me do this several times in this class, right? That you want to learn more about, because you know, accessibility is important to everybody, not just those who need it. It's important to everyone. And it's just what we need to do as developers is understand it, what it means, how we address to make our sites accessible for everyone. So this talks about these this particular, and this is the way we today address these, because now we have frameworks that, like you saw with Bootstrap, but also just writing them individually. So listen to this, find a topic, right, about making web pages accessible, and give us the links to that. And again, write 150 words in your own understanding, right? So read the links that you've selected once you have a better understanding of what the ARIA attributes are. Or it could be also some just generalized topic about accessibility, right? But in general, learning more, drilling down more. Like if you were to just search for, or because there is a whole, as you're not surprised, right? uh, ARIA attributes, labels, bootstrap, right? Um, I mean, attributes. If I know how to spell. Okay, there they are. Mozilla, of course, right? So here's where guidelines, notations, screen readers, right? Find related bugs, roles. So, like here, look at all these, right? So there's large topics, and there's uh, also very refined topics, because as you can imagine, everything that you build on a web page, and we saw this in our last video, with the different types of things that you can build, then we'll have different attributes to tell screen readers how to handle those, right? So drill down, do some more research about this topic. The last topic on this week is one that I rewrote today because I've been teaching this class for a number of years, and I decided to rewrite the requirements. And so let me just go through them. Your job here is to just, listen to what I'm talking about, ask any questions because there may be something that I took out that probably should have been there. But you're going to create a 21-page website using the Bootstrap 5 template that we're going to do next week. You're going to find one next week and publish it to your GitHub IO site. Okay. Overall topics for you is up to you. I used to actually have students do it based on the content of the course, but I've stepped away from that because I really want to give you the flexibility to do something that's interesting to you. And here's some ideas other students have done. They've done portfolio sites. Now, portfolio sites are really great. For web developers, using Bootstrap template, is a way to get started. It's not ultimately the way you would have your portfolio because if you're doing Bootstrap, you'd want to write and design websites without using Bootstrap. But in this case, for our purposes, it's really what you want to do, just to get started, right? Getting some of the content together. A vanity site might just be a site about yourself, and this is very common, very okay to do. Favorite team or person or whatever, right? Business idea you want to start. That's something I ask at the very beginning of the class, or someone that needs a site. So a business, and I think I've seen this already a couple times. These are just ideas. If you want to run an idea by me, please do come. It does need to be academically appropriate. So I'll just say that. Never had a problem with that. So now organize the pages. And this is, when you start to build it, and what will happen, and this can feel overwhelming right here as you see 21 pages. But what we start doing is starting next week, we actually have an item almost every week that helps you work towards building this out. So no need to get, it can be overwhelming. I get it. So when I say organized pages, that should be used between 3 to 5 items on a menu. So all templates, like here's a template that I was actually thinking of. Like here's the menu, right? So what you will end up doing is think about your content and organize it into these menus, and having them kind of evenly distributed. Now I'm going to talk about this site because this isn't actually the best one, because this is what's using a single page, and I want you to create individual pages for this, and I'll show that. Matter of fact, I think that wasn't the one. This was the one. So this site is actually a better example of that, because you can tell by when I click around that each page of them on the menu actually creates a new page. So then, like as an example, this has more menu items than you had to create, right? But I say 3 to 5. And then so there's the menu. And then under that menu, you then would have a landing page for that menu item that would then link to more pages, right? So this menu is really just a way to organize the pages that you have. And this is a fairly common thing as well, to have these drop downs like this versus just here. So this is part of what you'll look at when you look at next week. So that's what I mean when you organize your content between 3 and 5 items on a menu. And this is what I was talking about with no single page sites, because I actually want you to have the experience of creating individual pages. Because as you learn more and more web development, you really won't end up doing a site like this, but it is good once in your career to create one. All right. You only need to write original content, that should be. I'll have to modify that for your first page, your index page. The rest of the pages, now it depends on what site you select or what topic you select. For a vanity site, of course, you would have to come up with that, but the original content absolutely has to be on the first page. Okay, and then each page at least needs 75 words, an associated image, a unique title. Remember, the title is part of the HTML title tag, right? All the content on the page must be updated. And if you're not using it, you got to get rid of it. And what do I mean by that? So, as an example on this one, right? So, all this content here, if you're using it, you need to update it for your site specifically. You do need to have a footer, right? So, you would need to update all of that content. So, upload to GitHub pages, and in your comments, you'll grade yourself. Like, how well did you meet these requirements? And this is really what you've come here to do, which is to learn how to create a site. And we're going to create a site using templates. Again, I'll wait to kind of have that conversation with you next week about what that means. But here's why I'm showing you here is that you can realize is that you're going to be using a template that will help you more quickly. You won't have to do a lot of the work you've already seen. You'll be really just creating pages, doing links, having some content, doing images. So it's just a way to rapidly develop using Bootstrap and then templates. Okay, I hope this helps you out. So what you want to do here, this is the linked from the final one. So for this discussion, and I need to actually write that here, what you want to do is like review this and think about, yours, ask any questions that you might have about this. Okay. So I'll make sure and update that content to say what you need to do for this discussion. This is just the requirements as they're listed on the final project for this course, which you can see is the last thing we have due in this course. All right. Hope this helps you out. I'll talk to you later.